Welcome to our presentation on forging strong community relationships to accomplish a shared vision. My name is David Gunlock. I'm the Deputy Superintendent for the Oshkosh Area School District, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Dr. Kim Brown, who is our Director of Learning and Professional Development. She'll be assisting us today with your questions, so please feel free to submit your questions online, and we'll continue on answering those at the midpoint, as well as at the end. We're going to start our story with a little bit of the history and challenges that the district went through, and how we engaged our community and used our community focus to change the paradigm of what was occurring in the district, as well as how to align those priorities. We're going to talk a little bit about the metrics and results that we used with the community and how we were able to communicate the success in the strategic plan. We're going to finish it up with a series of key takeaways. So we're going to take all that information about the history, where we came from, what we learned from our community, aligning those priorities and metrics, and boil that down into a series of those key takeaways for you. And lastly, of course, we're going to be taking questions and answers throughout the time, and as I said, midway through as well as at the end. So let's get started with some of the history and the challenges. First, we want to talk a little bit about Oshkosh. We are located in east central Wisconsin. We are the 11th largest school district in the state with approximately 10,000 students. This is an aerial shot. It's a beautiful community if you ever get an opportunity to come visit. And we're probably most known for the EAA convention, where for 1 week out of the summer, Oshkosh has the busiest airport in the world. But taking us back to 2010, we were in what we call sort of the perfect storm. The district had been severely under-resourced in almost all areas. And while our presentation is going to focus on some technology examples, it was really in all of the areas, including facilities. There were millions of dollars of unmet maintenance needs, and pretty much just about every area. 16 of 33 new administrators were hired in the summer of 2010. I happened to be administrator number 16 hired that summer. Technology had been under-resourced for nearly 10 years. As a result, we had significant outages. There was no technology leadership from 2008 to 2010. They just didn't fill that position. The only system engineer had resigned in the summer of 2010. This, of course, led to frequent outages that led to limited student usage. The teachers and the students really couldn't count on the technology, so it really wasn't utilized all that much. And obviously, the community would be frustrated with the resources provided. That's all well and good, but as we often say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you take a look, this is our server room from back in 2010. As you can see, it's in quite a state of disrepair. Some of the issues we had were actually related to just basic electricity. This is the transformers that actually blew up, and we didn't have any electricity at central office for a few days. Fortunately, we had some backup generators so we could keep the lights on while we worked to restore the power. But this picture, probably above all, is most representative of the state of the district at that time. When I toured our data center, they indicated that the servers were connected by daisy chain power strips. I didn't really believe it, so they popped the floor and showed me, and I was rather surprised, so I snapped this picture. But they assured me that the one that had been smoking had been removed, so that is a good thing. We obviously needed to make some serious improvements in a short order, and so we made a couple of rapid infrastructure improvements. First off, we worked on the electrical power and added a generator system, and as you can see there, we put in a state-of-the-art data center to support our needs. But we really needed to make a paradigm shift. We needed to change how we operated as a school system in order to make improvements. And we did this by focusing on the community. In the past, the district had sort of done their own thing and turned their back on the community, and the community did their own thing and didn't pay attention to the school district. And this was not working out very well. And we felt we needed to turn this on its ear a little bit. And instead of us creating a game plan and then sharing that with the community and trying to get support, we really felt we needed to stop. We needed to stop talk to the community, find out what did they want from their school system, and then create a plan that would help us deliver on that. So one of the first things we did was we created a tagline for the school system. We had one before, but we changed it to building community through education. We're a big fan of taglines because they're short, they're to the point, they get repeated, and people know what they are. We were also fortunate enough to have a great partnership with the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation. They were able to generate some seed money and fund a group called Oshkosh for Education. The sole purpose of this group was to survey the 70,000 plus residents in the Oshkosh area and find out exactly what it is they wanted from their school system. They distilled that information over a span of focus groups and many different nights and surveys down to 5 core priorities. They then provided those to the Oshkosh Area School District, and our Board of Education charged administration with creating a strategic plan around each one of those. In addition to that, we wanted to be very attentive to the business needs of our community. The Northeast Wisconsin region had just completed an IT market assessment, and it came up with 4 sort of main findings. First off, there's a strong potential for IT job growth with a growing gap between supply and demand. There's a cost of an IT talent gap in the region of approximately $91 million per year in just unmet business. That was pretty severe. We also found out that the IT skills were required for all careers in all sectors. And they were really focused on the 4 C's and other life and career skills, as that those were of significant value. And for those of you who may not know, the 4 C's are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So as you can see, we formed a variety of partnerships with all areas of the community. You already know about Oshkosh for Education and the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation, but what you may not know is that we also formed a partnership with the City of Oshkosh. In fact, we for 2 meetings a year, our Board of Education and the City Council have joint meetings. In addition, the Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation are a direct linkage to our area business and industry. And that 2-way communication helps us really know what the community wants. We have a great relationship with the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, which is our local 4-year institution, and the Fox Valley Technical College, which is our 2-year institution. And those entities provide dual credit experiences for many of our students. And last but not least is Amplify Oshkosh. This is a group that was created by the community that has members from all those other entities. And it's the sole focus of this group is to make Oshkosh the Silicon Valley of the Midwest. And we know that's a lofty goal, but by working together, we have a lot of opportunity to realize that goal. So the district really is taking the role of becoming the pipeline for our community. We know the next generation of workforce is going to be coming right through our doors, and we take that responsibility very seriously. And the community also embraced that idea of, okay, the school district is going to be the pipeline, therefore they now know what we want, and we need to support them in their efforts. So how did we align those priorities that the community came up with? Well, we had to leverage some quality strategic planning. Now, there's a lot of perceptions out there on strategic planning. First off, I would say that the quote from Herb Keller from Southwest Airlines that we have a strategic plan, it's called doing things, is really good, but we felt that our strategic plan had to be way more than we're doing things. We feel that the strategic plan was so much more than that, in that it guided all resource allocation so that the board and staff members know what to focus their time on. Also, that the strategic plan goals are assigned to cabinet members on a weekly basis. The plan is updated weekly at those meetings, and then the adjustments that we make go live on the district website. Also, we do a community report each fall and each spring, and you can actually check out the details of our strategic plan at the link below. So here is our strategic plan priorities. Priority 1 that we'll focus on the most will be improving student learning for all. Priority 2 will be improving district communications. Priority 3 is develop and invest in quality staff. Priority 4 is maintaining and improving facilities. And priority 5 is strengthening partnerships and community engagement. We also have a foundational goal of securing sustainable funding, which of course feeds all those other efforts. Now, the example I wanted to share with you is involved around our instructional technology improvements, and that's priority 1, improve student learning for all. And goal 1A is to support a personalized learning environment. Goal 1B is to ensure fairness and equity of instructional resources across the district. As I stated, we had a pretty good opportunity to communicate with our business community, and they were able to provide us with a lot of rationale as to why we would be doing this. But the group that we really had to double back to was our parents, because not all of them really understood why we were changing some of what we were doing. So this was some information that we shared with them. Based upon what we had learned from the business community, we felt that our job was to prepare students for their future, and we knew quite a bit about that future. First off, that it would be connected to the outside world. It's a future where knowledge is free and accessible if you have a device to access it. It was a future that required critical thinking to get not only the right answers, but the best, most efficient answers. And it's a future that requires creation, innovation, collaboration, life and career skills, and of course, good digital citizens. So in Oshkosh fashion, we crafted a tagline called Learning Without Limits. So we really called this entire endeavor our Learning Without Limits initiative. We felt that was far more descriptive than a one-to-one initiative or some sort of a technology initiative. And just for your information, this Learning Without Limits initiative was really implemented in a series of 4 phases. In the first phase, we provided a state-of-the-art infrastructure, and you've seen that already. In phase 2, we hired 8 technology integrators. That's 1 for each 100 staff members, and they would provide embedded PD for our teachers. In the third phase, we provided staff with the same technology that we were providing the students. And in the fourth phase, we provided students with access. And we're partially through that now. So we've provided devices to every one of our high school students. We've now provided it to every one of our middle school students. And next year, we'll cover our students in grades 3 through 5. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to take a pause and see if there are any common questions. And what I'm going to do is stop screen sharing. So, hello. And Kim Brown is here with us, and she's been monitoring some of your questions. And Kim, what questions are we seeing?
All right, so in phase 2, you talk about technology integrators. And so people want to know, how did you get those technology integrators hired?
That's a great question.
Finance is the big one.
The finances were a big one, and we really, what we did was we had a fairly anemic hardware budget, but we felt so strongly about this that we pulled the dollars out of that hardware budget and then diverted it to go ahead and hire those tech integrators. Now, this was before the referendum ever was passed, so the board had asked, well, what happens if the referendum doesn't pass? But we felt so strongly that that embedded professional development was required. In everything we've learned and all the presentations we had gone to from other districts, we learned that that was really the key. So it was of such a high priority that we said that even if we didn't get the additional funding, we felt this was the way to go to leverage technology and really begin integrating it and developing some of those skills the community told us that they wanted to see.
Okay, so somebody wants to know, what are the roles and qualifications of the tech integrators?
Well, first off, they have to be fantastic teachers. That was the number one skill. We liked people who were knew about technology, but the staff in the district have heard me say for a long time, no matter how much you know about technology, it has a shelf life of about 18 months. So what we wanted was people who were great teachers who were also great learners, because they were going to have to learn, unlearn, and relearn at a very rapid pace. So those were some of the key things. And we also required them to teach us as an interview team. So everybody who came in had to actually strut their stuff and show us how they could do that. So.
Okay. So have you seen any academic improvements as a result of the Learning Without Limits initiative?
We have seen some academic improvements, and I'm going to be talking about a case study that Google did of our school system, and they specifically looked at some of the program changes that had occurred at the high school in the first year of our Learning Without Limits initiative, and they were able to see some significant improvements there. But we're also going to take a look in a few minutes at some other data when we go ahead and look at the results that I think you're going to find pretty compelling. So. What I think we'll do is we'll hold on answering more. We'll answer some more questions at the end, and we will go back to sharing our screen. And let's talk a little bit about metrics and results. So there's a variety of levels of strategic plan measures. And you see, we've kind of identified 6 different levels. In the first 3 levels, those are sort of upper levels, overall progress on the strategic plan, high-level district measurements, some detailed district measurements by cohort, and that's really appropriate for your board and your community. And so we've created a board and a community dashboard so they can continue to monitor those. Then levels 4, 5, and 6 are more granular, more detailed. So that would be school-wide data, classroom grade level data, and individual student data. And that's really appropriate for parents, students, and the staff dashboard. So we've created these dashboards and we've created these strategic plan scorecard measures. So that includes academic achievement metrics that you see, some percent completion, and in other words, how are we completing our strategic plan by status, by goal, and by lead. But also we have some other metrics that are going to be related to the 4 C's and how we're integrating 21st century skills. So let's take a look at some of our results. We have both internal and external data that we use to see our results. And the internal data is coming from our internal stakeholders. One of the big things that we did early on is we realized that this was going to be more than just a reading and a math score on a standardized test. So we wanted to do a much deeper analysis of how classroom instruction was changing. We looked around and we found the Bright Bites assessment from Clarity, and they use what's called the CASE framework. So they measure classroom metrics, environmental metrics, skills metrics, and access metrics. You can see there is the score legend. Emerging is sort of a pink color, proficient is orange, and then advanced is green, and exemplary is blue. So let's take a look at our measurements. This is an actual dashboard from the fall of 2014, and you can see our CASE score is proficient at 1048. You can see probably the areas we have the biggest issue with would be the classroom, where we're looking at the use of the 4 C's, digital citizenship, etc. We were doing quite well in access and skills, which is a direct result of those rapid infrastructure improvements I mentioned. So when we went from 2014 to 2015, you'll notice we see a tick up. So all the metrics moved a little bit. Our CASE score went up to 1060, and we've done a little bit better in all of the different areas. You can see access now is in the exemplary category. When we look at fall of 2016, we made another improvement. So our CASE score went up to 1072. So we've been making granular focused improvements that are probably best illustrated by looking at some of the map data. The Bright Bites data also allows you to map it out by where the schools are located. And you can see here is 2014, and these are all of our schools throughout the city of Oshkosh. And when we look at 2015 data, you'll notice 2 of the schools pop. All of a sudden they go to orange, which is proficient. What's interesting is those are our 2 high schools, which is exactly where we began our rollout of our Learning Without Limits initiative. So we saw some interesting improvements. What we were really waiting for was 2016, because we were going to roll out at our 5 middle schools. So here's our 2016 data. And you'll look, all 5 of the middle schools, now you can't see one of them because it's actually a shared site. It's actually behind the pink. That would be Merrill Middle School. But all of them have shown significant progress. In addition, the Bright Bites assessment provides us with a whole bunch of other data. One of the key pieces is digital citizenship. That was very important to our community. And here you can see the frequency with which students are taught how to act respectfully online. And you can see we've made significant improvements. The current is the solid bars, and the stripes would be from 2014. And if you look at us compared to the rest of the state of Wisconsin, once again, we're the solid bars and the state would be the stripes. You can see we've made some improvements there as well. The other data that we looked at was our external data. Now that comes from our external stakeholders and outside agencies. And probably the biggest piece of external data we have that we've been making progress in aligning our priorities along with the communities is successful passage on 3 different referenda in 6 years. The first one occurred in 2012, where we spent $13 million to rebuild an aging and dilapidated elementary school. And that actually passed with a 70% margin. 2 years later, we needed to pass a $4 million referendum that included mostly operations, but also that funded the Learning Without Limits initiative that I referenced, and that passed 59%. 2 years after that, just a few months ago, we passed a third referendum for $4 million for 7 years for operations once again, and some security camera improvements. And that also passed by 59%. So that would represent that our community is supportive of our efforts and that we're starting to hit the mark as far as understanding what their priorities are and creating programming to match those priorities. In addition, another piece of important data is our open enrollment data and how we're bending that trend. Now, for those of you who aren't from the Wisconsin area, we're what's called an open enrollment state. So even though a student may live in Oshkosh, they can attend any school district they wish. And as a result, some districts are net gainers, some districts are net losers in students. We are a net loser. And you can see that we were becoming a big net loser all the way down into the 12-13 school year. So we were losing a net of about 132 students to other districts. So some came in, some left, but the net loss was 132. Now you can see from this that we've really started to bend that trend. And that has a significant fiscal impact on the district because at one point we were shipping a little over $1 million to other school districts around us to educate students who lived here. Another external success would be some community synergy. We recently have begun discussions with the City of Oshkosh, the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, and the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation. We each, as you know, are laying out strategic plans. So we did an overview of each of our plans, seeking areas of alignment. We also identified a series of common goals that we're going to work on and how we link that to our community improvement efforts. And we feel that our community is really going to appreciate this because they're going to see all of us pulling the rope in the same direction. In addition, we've received some recognition of our progress in terms of being asked to present at a variety of conferences. We've presented at the Wisconsin Slate Conference every year since 2011. We've been asked to present at the ASCD National Conference in 2013 and 2017, and the district was asked to present at the ISTE Conference in 2013, 2014, and 2016. We've also received a series of grants. Most notably would be the WTI and the ASCD grants. The WTI grant is interesting because that's from the Wisconsin Technology Initiative. And over a span of years, they provided us with over $466,000 of grants for some classroom technology. But note there it says after phase one. The first year those grants were available, we could not even apply for them. They said you can't even apply because you don't even have enough infrastructure to adequately support the technology we'd be giving you. So that was important to know that we had to make some of those improvements first. Also, the ASCD Teacher Impact Grant was a very competitive grant that ASCD provided to some of our teachers based upon some of the academic and performance improvements that we've seen at our Learning Without Limits schools. In addition to that, Google recently released a case study or a series of case studies. Oshkosh was featured as one of 6 districts in the United States and the United Kingdom to be featured in that. That surprised us because as you can see from our history, we're relatively new to this. And they said that was part of the reason why they chose us for the case study, where we came from, how we engaged the community, and how fast we got here. I put the URL there for the case study if you want to read it. It provides some great information about the successes our teachers have had in our schools. In addition to that is the Google Transformation Center. This is a separate initiative from Google where they're trying to figure out all of the ideas, stories, and resources that other districts might be able to use to improve their schools. And you can see here that if you go to the Google for Education Transformation Center, you click on the framework and you go under the community engagement and you scroll down, you will see that they will be featuring Oshkosh as one of their case studies. So those are actually our students and those are our Chromebooks and as part of our Learning Without Limits initiative. So as you can see, we have a lot of internal data and a lot of external data that would represent that this strategic planning approach and actually checking with your community first and creating a plan to address the needs they've identified has been very successful. So if we were to wrap all that up into a series of key takeaways for you, what would it be? Well, the first thing I would say is, as you can imagine, partnerships are critical. You cannot do this alone. So many times school districts have tried to go it alone, create a great plan, sell it to their community, and they find out they have limited success. You really do need to form those partnerships. And our core partnership is making students college, career, and community ready. So it's partnering not only with the city, the business community, but also those post-secondary institutions. The next takeaway, listen first. This seemed to be a fairly new thing for many districts. Take some time, ask first what your community wants from you, and then create a plan to help deliver on that. If you do that, you'll always receive positive community support. Next, communicate, and when you're done, communicate again. We provided a variety of different communications throughout each step of the strategic plan. First off, we conducted numerous parent information nights. Those were very successful and really helped our parents see what we were doing and why. We provided a series of YouTube videos on our YouTube channel, and we constantly try to get that information out there in multiple formats. We use social media on Facebook, Twitter, and our Google Plus posts to get information out to parents and students and community members. We have an Inside Look TV program that Dr. Brown works with, and that's a 30-minute TV show highlighting key aspects of our school district each month. We use Campus Messenger. We use Infinite Campus for our student information system, and we use the Campus Messenger product to get information into the hands of parents and students in a timely fashion. And we've done, with each referendum, we did well over 50 referendum presentations in a span of 2 months. So there was almost nobody that didn't have an opportunity to sit down with us and get some information. So communication was very, very important. The other thing I would say is everybody stay in your lane. That includes board members focusing on those high-level priorities and goals, administration focusing on developing a plan to get to those goals, and then of course teaching staff. Everybody has a piece of this, and if they stay in their lane, it's much easier for us to perform. Next, and this one's an important one, it's not rocket science. Keep it simple. Simple gets done. Try not to use education speak. Try to use common sense language that everybody can understand, and you'll have greater success. Next, don't go it alone. The partnerships we've had with the Community Foundation, the City of Oshkosh, the Oshkosh School District has allowed us to make all of our burdens lighter because the community sees we're teaming up, that we're using our resources to do the best job possible, and it's much more successful that way. Next, celebrate success. This is hard work. This is really, really hard work. And if you're always looking at the next step of hard work, you never have an opportunity to re-energize. So it's really important to celebrate your successes every step along the way so that people get re-energized for the next step. And lastly, but probably most importantly, we found that when we've removed the limitations on our teachers, great magic happens. We've seen tremendous improvements just by removing some of those limitations. And that's part of the reason why we call it our Learning Without Limits initiative. And that's also the root benefit of everything that we've talked about here today, because this is really in the service of educating children and preparing them for their future. So at this point, what we'll do is we'll open it up again for some questions and answers. And at the end, what I'll do for the last few minutes is I'll bring this slide up so that you'll be able to see my key contact information. But right now I'm going to stop screen sharing so that we can go ahead and answer some questions. Okay.
All right. So for the Bright Bites data, as you were sharing that, high school was lit up first, then middle school, and then elementary. So could you tell people about why we started with high school? Because a lot of districts are starting with the elementary first.
Yes, yes. In fact, we had a board member who really wanted us to start elementary and working up. And we convinced the board that we really wanted to start high school working down. Part of that was because the community said, you can't wait. We have students who are graduating in the next year, 2, 3 years, and they need access to this technology. The students, by starting early on, we'd be graduating years and years of students who would never have the benefit of this. So we really chose to kind of meet the students as they were exiting out of the system, and we felt that was very important. The other reason we did it that way is because those students are older, so that they had a greater ability to handle this. This was very new for our community. We had to take our most mature students first, and they sort of blazed the trail for the rest of us.
Mhm. And helped with getting college and community ready too.
Very much so,
great.
yes.
Somebody wants to know, how have we tapped into teacher capacity to support a shared vision?
Well, the one thing I've been most pleased with is that our teachers have greatly exceeded my expectations. And I didn't expect them to move as fast as they are moving. And that was really part of that last slide, that idea of if you really remove the limitations on teachers, they're going to use their natural creativity and professionalism and just great knowledge of pedagogy to make significant improvements into the instructional process. The problem is, I don't believe that can happen until every student has a device every day. Because if it's always a competition for who's going to use a device when, the teachers can't integrate it at the last minute or, every day as part of their instruction. So we've hit 30 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop our broadcast at this point. I'm going to continue to answer questions offline. I hope you found this of interest. We've certainly enjoyed presenting this to you. And thank you so much for joining us for our presentation. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.